Hi, it's good to be back. Welcome to Lav-Living Wellness Channel. You are with dietitian Vicky. Today we're going to focus on heart health. As we said, September we're focusing on heart and the heart because September is a month where heart is celebrated, and today we're focusing on men. Let's sit, have a chill coffee, glass of wine, let's talk. So, we're talking about heart health for males, and we all know that men are a very strange species. We love our men, we adore them, our boys, our sons, our fathers, our dudes, we love them and we salute them, we celebrate them. But when we all know that when it comes to health, most men will not see a doctor even if you pay them to. So it's like seeing a doctor is a very painful experience for men. I don't know why. But I hope with this health, nutrition and wellness conversation, we will actually have a lot of men that will engage in these conversations. Hopefully, we might encourage some of our brothers, some of our dudes, to go check out their health and to take their wellness serious. I mean, we grew up in households where your mother gets widowed at age 50 because your father had a stroke and things like that. So it's not a good thing. We want our men to live quite longer. I, for one, am a mother of a son and I have brothers, so I do want them to live quite longer and live very productive, very healthy lives. So let's look at it. Because cardiovascular health, as normally in the medical space we will call it, we'll say cardiovascular health, there's a term that we coined together to group in a lot of conditions that could be seen in the cardiovascular space. So, and I'll bring down the term. We will say cardiometabolic syndrome or cardiometabolic diseases. What are these things? This is when you have a lot of conditions or pathologies that happen because something has gone wrong in your metabolism, or it's conditions that are there because maybe your lifestyle is causing a lot of conditions. I'll take an example. If we look at diabetes, for instance, sugar diabetes, as it's commonly called, sugar diabetes, it's a metabolic disease which can happen to anyone, children, adults, old people, because they're two different, or at the main, there are two different types of diabetes at the main, but it's not only two types of diabetes. There's just a couple of different types of diabetes. In as much as today we are not talking about diabetes, but diabetes is something that is worldwide. A lot of people in millions suffer from diabetes, and diabetes is one of the most contributing factors to a lot of other secondary metabolic diseases. So, say someone with diabetes can begin with diabetes, but might find themselves ending up with cholesterols, kidney failures, heart failures. All these are what we can coin them together as cardiometabolic conditions. Things like obesity there, things like high blood pressure there, cholesterols, all these kind of things, would coin them together under the cardiometabolic syndrome. And with all that, you can have diseases of diseases that are secondary to something. As I said, you could be having diseases that are secondary to diabetes. So with that, much as there's so many things that we can discuss under the umbrella of the cardiovascular conditions, I just want us to focus on two things, which is actually two in one, so that our men can actually focus and we also can actually focus, and at the end of this conversation we know what we can do, right? These are the things that, as I was mentioning, we will get time to talk about them. We are having these conversations together so that we can work on our health and we can take charge of our health, right? So I want us to look at the common things like arteriosclerosis or atherosclerotic diseases, and I'll explain what that is. I know it can sound so it sounds so medical class, but it's not medical class. I'll actually simplify it. So we'll look at diseases of the arteries, very simple common diseases of the arteries. You can go to a doctor and then they say you have atherosclerotic disease or atherosclerotic disease, these things. But in short, on the street, what they mean is that your arteries are sick because either, if the doctors say you have atherosclerotic disease, it means the arteries, remember the arteries are the pipes that transport blood from your heart. So those big pipes, they move blood. So I'm trying to simplify there. So if you're thinking about those pipes that actually circulate blood, and they come from your heart and they take blood everywhere, they are supposed to bring blood that is clean with oxygen and nutrients, right? So I can imagine if you're not eating healthy, you are already circulating blood that does not have proper nutrients, and that will be a problem. But these big veins that transport blood, that circulate blood, they're supposed to be elastic, rubbery kind of a situation, and they're supposed to be beautifully hollowed, like a nice pipe that can have blood flow in. So think about your drain. You don't want your drain clogging, you don't want your drain thin. Imagine if you open your zinc and your drain is not draining out because you were washing dishes with a lot of fats. Your drain, though the pipe is still in the same size, but your pipe is now thin. Also think about a situation where now your drain is leaking somewhere, that is a problem. Or think about a situation where your drain, maybe from the zinc up, is clean, is open, but somewhere at that where it's supposed to do these things, the caves, you find that it's blocking there or it's closing there. So when we talk about these diseases of the veins, actually in simple meaning, it just means the same things, that your drainings have problems. Your draining could be stiff, your draining could be hard, like it lost that rubbery thing. That's what then now they can say is atherosclerotic diseases. So it just means the draining system of your body has problems. At the main, usually it's just those two things. It's hard, it's stiffening, and it's lost the ability to open up when blood comes, because it must relax and open and blood flows in. And when blood returns back to the heart, it must, everywhere, and then it send blood back up. So if you're having atherosclerotic diseases, your veins mostly, they are tough, they are hard, they don't relax and they don't relax and contract to let blood flow down to organs and then up back again to the heart, and those kind of situations. So if they say you have atherosclerotic diseases or atheromas, it means those pipes have things like plaques in. So it means the pipes, even though they are still big, but the flow inside is reduced. So you have got a pipe that has reduced in diameter. So, which then now means when blood is supposed to flow in that pipe, it can't flow smoothly, because even if the pipe is this big, maybe imagine if the pipe has got a layer this big of fat, as an example. So now blood cannot go through. So, so you've got tough, tight veins, or you've got veins that has got a reduced flow. Now, as a man, what would you experience? Or as a man, how would you know that, hey, something is not going on very well? One thing that is so beautiful about the male anatomy is the erections. That's the most, it's a very beautiful thing because it easily picks up if there are errors in the body. Remember that generally erections are there if the vasculature of the body is nicely open. It can receive blood flow. So the genitalia receives good blood flow and it fills up. When it fills up, then there's a good erection. But if you have things like atheromas or plaques, for instance, so now you've got pipes that have got like reduced blood flow, so you struggle to circulate blood down, and what would you get? You get weaker erections. They're not strong, you get them weaker. So these kind of things actually happen quite a lot for males when there are circulatory problems, whether because you've got hardening veins or you've got veins that are blocking elsewhere. So it's like the male erection is one of those things that when you monitor it, it kind of will tell the telltale signs of what is happening in the body. And we're not talking just any erections, we're talking the nocturnal erection. That one that happens in the morning, early hours of the morning, when you're in deep sleep. You'll see it in baby boys, you'll see it throughout. It's not supposed to disappear. That erection speaks a lot about the health status that you have as a male. So it's important for males to actually look at that nocturnal erection, that it's very good and it's clear. So some of the things that a man may experience, it depends on which part of the arteries has problems. If it is arteries in the brains that are having the clogging, that are having the clotting, that are having problems, you might experience things like numbness on the hands, numbness of the feet, those kind of things, like or what is normally called the semi-strokes or transient strokes. I'm trying to not use medical terms, but you find that you have like a semi-stroke or like the smaller partial strokes, that kind of a thing. So it's usually because the vasculature there has got problems. If you experience it in the legs, nowadays I do see a lot of people coming with these things where you find that blood is not going well in the legs. So you might find like you find people with in the township, but when people have got deep vein thrombotic diseases, or they've got, you tend to find like a dark mark on the leg, or difficulties for wounds to heal, swollen legs, and you find that they're very dark. It's like blood is not getting there. It's very common nowadays. You see it quite a lot. So it's things like that that are actually saying the vasculature is not good, or something's wrong with the vasculature down there. If it's vasculatures around the chest, like around the heart, often you'll experience chest pains. Now, I wish we would have like a glass of wine or a cup of tea just to talk about chest pains, because I work in a hospital, right? And you find that there's a certain period in time where a lot of people come in with chest pains. So you get a lot of chest pain screen because, hey, we're sure we're clubbing. So, but because chest pains are such a sensitive thing, you would have chest pains because of cardiovascular problems. But unfortunately, you'll have chest pains if you have if we are goisha. So many times you find a lot of people come in chest pains only to find that, or when you look at the chest pain screen, which is a blood test, a group of tests that doctors will do, and when they look at them, if there are real problems with the vasculatures, the chest pain screen will actually pick it up. But then sometimes you find that there's nothing wrong with the vasculature, it's just that we are goisha mzalwane. And because we are goisha, then now you have chest pains. Month end, akuna balance, umjolo, akuna balance. Like, you look at everything, akuna balance. Enoto umjolo, akuna balance. Cash-wise, akuna balance. Family, akuna balance. So things like this can give you psychosomatic symptoms, like chest pains. Or sometimes, you just have gone through many things in life and you have chest pains. So when you have chest pains, don't ignore them. Do go make a medical checkup, find out if your chest pain is there because you have vasculature problems, or your chest pain is there because we are goisha and bilwe. So, but do make that medical checkup. It is important that you do that. So these are some of the very common things that you can actually experience. Something that was not very common, but I get to see it quite a lot these days, is the fact that the digestive system is also an organ or a tissue that is dependent a lot on good circulation. Many at times, you find that if vasculatures or circulation in the gut also has problems, people tend to experience a lot of digestive conditions. We will get time to look at that some other time, not today. So, for our brothers, remember the things that I said you need to notice. Notice if you are having things like tingling sensations of the feet. Notice if you are having things like numbness of the hands and your legs. Notice if you have swollen feet, if you have discoloration of your legs. When you have things like those. Notice if you have strange headaches, especially headaches that hit you like up to here, like that belted headache that hit you here. Do notice that. Notice if you have chest pains. Don't just assume that because it has been a couple of weeks or a couple of months that you have had no balance in life. Don't just assume that it is because of that. So when you have these symptoms, also notice, pay attention to your nocturnal erections. When you have things like that, it is time to make the medical checkups. So in terms of your lifestyle, what are the things to begin to look at that could actually contribute to you having vasculature problems? Dietary fats, and that's where for today I would love us to close our conversations there. So dietary fats and lots of sodium, alcohol, smoking. These things in combination, the four of them, your smokings will cause inflammation of the arteries on the inside, and they will also cause tightening. So that's just the one thing with smoking. So this thing, like nowadays, you find people vaping. Can I never vape? Those things that you are vaping that actually affect the lungs and the vasculatures a lot. So the cigarette smoking, it causes hardening of the arteries. Even the smallest blood vessels, it causes hardening. The lots of sodium, it causes swelling of the arteries, because when you eat food with lots of sodium in it, sodium tends to trap water and causing swelling or edema. So when you eat food with lots of salt in them, it causes the veins inside to swell. Hence, sometimes after eating some things, like after lunch, people complain, now, mind I have a headache. So when you eat things like that, lots of sodium, which is found in salt or salty things, actually, but it's not salt that is an issue, it's the sodium that is an issue. We'll talk about it another time, because you can, when we look at food, we'll teach each other how to identify sodium in the food. And of course, like as I said, dietary fats. So dietary fats, I can spare you today. We're not going to talk about alcohol, but I'll just mention that consumption of alcohol, especially high consumption of alcohol, does also promote what is called metabolic inflammation. And that is, so now because we're talking about vessels, your veins and things like that, arteries and blah, 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 the pipings of the systems, when they have inflammation, they are vulnerable to having hojas sticking there, bacteria, infections, blood, forming clots, forming plaques, and things like that. So I just want us to look at dietary fats. A few years ago, there was a hype, the benting hype. I don't know if you've ever heard about it. Everybody was losing weight, they're benting and they're losing weight, which is true. They were benting and they were losing weight. However, with that, one thing that was very clear that you found a lot is that as you lose a lot of weight, you find when you do the blood test in circulation, the cholesterol levels, triglycerides, these are special kind of fats that when they're very high in the body, especially the triglycerides, if they are very high in circulations, they tend to cause injuries to the arteries. So, and then now you'd say, all right, you drop from wearing size 40, you're wearing a size 32, but your arteries are suffering now. I don't know, is it worth it? That now you can clench your waist, but at the same time, your cardiovascular system is being injured. So it's like, it's not a mixture, ne? So in essence, I think when we're looking at weight loss, we also have to consider if we're losing it properly. We're not talking about the weight now. So as we're talking about dietary fats, fats are not made equally. Cooking oils are not made equally. So I want us to identify which kind of fats to be concerned about. Now, as a dietitian, which is something that I usually point many of my clients to, is this. There are fats that are industrial fats, or these fats don't exist in nature. Industry produces them, and because they are cheaper and affordable, they get to be used in a lot of industrialized foods. These kind of fats, the flop with them is that they attract, they cause inflammation. So it is something that you should not be using regularly in the diet. You should come across them occasionally. Now, if we look at the food industry, for instance, many food that are produced, or if you find food items on the shelf, industrialized food, they will have the industrialized fats. The easiest thing that you could easily notice is that if you go to your kitchen, even right now, open that kitchen cupboard, look at the boxes or on your food labeling. If you find hydrolyzed fats, these are the kind of fats we're talking about. If you look at the packet of biscuits, the packet of Zimbas, the patties and the burgers that you are eating, that Russian, that Vienna's, that polony, that salami, that margarine, look at it, industrialized fats, hydrolyzed fats. These are the types of fats that raises triglycerides or the type of cholesterols that cause inflammation of the arteries or the whole vasculature. So, which is why, and I always want to say, look at these things that you are eating, ensure that hydrolyzed fats, because you are not necessarily going to completely not eat them, but at least don't have them contributing more than 30% or more than 20% of your diet. But then unfortunately in South Africa, if you leave egas, you will find that almost 60-70% of your diet, if you're a poor student, more or less, that could just be what you are eating. So we will talk about how to work around your diet as a student, as somebody that lives in the township, as somebody that lives Ekasi and things like that. So that's the one thing about dietary fats. The other thing that could be very much harmful besides the industrialized fats is, and this again, I usually say to people, okay, let's look at what you cook. And if you cook something, when it's hot, the fat in it is like soap or grayish, it's liquid. But once it cools down, if that soap or that soup or that gravy, it forms a thick paste, a solid fat. Like for instance, look at the egusi soup that Nigerians eat. So look at egusi, look at pepper soups. But if you look at the egusi, for instance, you often find that they cook a lot of different types of meats in Ego. So I normally would say, all right, let the egusi be cold. Look at it. If you find solid fat in it, then you know that is not healthy. So if you don't find solid fat in it, that could be something else at least. So I do find there are those that are able to trim down the egusi such that the meat in the egusi is not fatty but lean, just that it's a lot of meat. Like say for instance, you find like trimmed mohod, you know, they'll chop that one. Maybe then you find pieces of liver chopped in, Perhaps then I will find a bit of goat meat chopped in and cooked together with other vegetables. But in South Africa, we tend to do one meat and we cook just one meat. Many other African countries also tend to do that one meat thingy. But of course, Tina, on a budget, you find that boerewors, voroso. It's something that happens in a lot of households. It is a cheaper seshebo kind of a situation, but once it cools, you look at that fat, it has solidified. It has become a white solid. Now, these are some of the things that you can identify. Like you can easily tick that this is unhealthy, I have to reduce the fat. So if you look at the cook muhodu, that sobo is nice when it's hot, but as soon as it cools down, it solidifies. These are some of the pointer things that you can look at just to see that your diet is kind of healthy. So if your meat, it solidifies, it becomes like a solid white fat, know that that one is not healthy. So you can work at reducing that fat. Yeah. So for today, that will be that from me. You can send your questions and you can invite others to watch the videos. You can also subscribe,
like,
can like,
share,
and you can share. Thank you for watching.